Hello students, welcome to the channel Omni Gyan. Let us continue with the story The Monkey's Paw. This is part 2 of the video. Uh, I'm sure you have watched part 1 of the video. I will give the link in the description in case you have not watched part 1. So let us do part 2 of the video today. In the previous video, in the part 1 of the video, Herbert White suggests his father, Mr. White, to wish for something sensitive. Okay, so we already know that Surgeon Major Morris, who is a friend of Mr. White, had given him a monkey's paw, which is quite magical. Okay, and we also know that monkey's paw grants 3 wishes. Okay, the one who possesses it and asks for wishes, the paw grants him or her 3 wishes. Okay, so right now Mr. White is having that monkey's paw and the entire White family is very excited. Okay, the entire White family is very excited. Now Herbert White says that, father, you asked for something very sensitive, and Mr. White is very confused, okay, regarding the wish. So as you can see here, Herbert, okay, says, daddy, you can wish to be an emperor, then you can control mother. Haha. Okay, so Herbert very jokingly tells his daddy that, father, why don't you wish to be an emperor, then you can control mother. Okay, you can control mother, you can tell anything to mother and mother will do it for you. And then Herbert White, he laughs. And then Mr. White says that, son, I'm still confused. Okay, what should I wish for? And then Herbert White suggests a very beautiful thing. He says that, daddy, our house is mortgaged, isn't it? So you can wish for 200 pounds. Okay, so Herbert White tells his father that, father, our house is mortgaged. Okay, we have to pay for our house. Okay, maybe they had taken some loan from somebody and they had mortgaged their house and the amount is 200 pounds. So Herbert White says, father, why don't you ask for 200 pounds? And then Mr. White became very happy at this suggestion of his son, and he says, yes, absolutely, son, you're correct. So as you can see in the picture, okay, that Mr. White took the dried monkey's paw in his hand. Okay, so here you can see Mr. White, he is taking this monkey's paw in his right hand. Okay, and he wishes aloud. Okay, he held the paw up and said aloud, I wish for 200 pounds. Okay, so the entire White family, as you can see, this is Herbert White, this is his father Mr. White, and this is Mrs. White, and 3 of them are very excited, though they still can't believe that the paw can grant 3 wishes. But still Mr. White believes that the monkey's paw can grant 3 wishes. So he takes the paw in his hand and he wishes aloud that, I wish for 200 pounds. Okay, he says this loudly. Now even after wishing, nothing happened. Okay, so no money came from anywhere. Okay, and the White family was eagerly waiting. So they were waiting and waiting, but they kept on waiting and waiting, but nothing happened. Okay, and the White family was very excited. But when the wish was not fulfilled, they became very sad and went to sleep. So the White family, as you can see, they were waiting and waiting and waiting, but nothing happened. So when their wish was not fulfilled, they became very sad. Okay, and after waiting for some times, they went to sleep because it was night also. So it was a very cold night. Okay, the White family waited for for some times, and then they went to sleep. Okay, so the White family was waiting for some times. It was cold also. Okay, it was a very cold night, so they waited for some times, and then very disappointed, they went to sleep. So the next morning at the breakfast table. So Mrs. White was very annoyed. Okay, and the Mrs. White, Herbert's mother, was very annoyed. She was quite angry, and she told her husband, Mr. White, that how could you believe in such nonsense things? Yesterday you had asked, for 3 wishes, especially one wish that you asked for, 200 pounds. That one wish also was not granted. So how could you believe in such nonsense things? And how could wishes be granted in these modern days? So obviously, in this age of science and technology, how can you believe in such rubbish things? This is what Mrs. White told her husband, Mr. White. Okay, that in modern days, how do you believe that wishes can be granted? There can be something like a monkey's paw that you will raise in your hand and it will grant you wishes. How can you believe all these things? Okay, she was very angry and annoyed with her husband. And Mr. White was feeling very embarrassed. He was feeling very he was feeling quite shy and embarrassed, and said that he had believed what his friend Morris had told him. So actually it wasn't the fault of Mr. White entirely. His friend Major Morris had created such a situation. Okay, the previous day when Mr. Morris came, in fact the previous night when Mr. Morris came, and he gave the monkey's paw, he had said many things about that fakir who had put a spell on the monkey's paw and that can grant 3 wishes. And then Major Morris also had a friend whose wish was granted, and the last wish was for death. Okay, so Mr. White felt, no, I'm very sorry that I believed in him, and it was all about, all because of Morris. And Herbert, who was working in Moe and Megan's company, so his son Herbert is actually working in a company, and the name of the company is Moe and Megan's. Okay, Herbert said, father, I'm getting late for work, mother, I'm getting late for work, so let me go. And then he left for his work. Okay, so Herbert White, he left for his work, and at home there was only Mr. and Mrs. White, husband and wife. Okay, now Mr. and Mrs. White are inside their house. Outside there's a very beautiful garden, there's a gate outside. Now something is going to happen, and we will learn that. Okay, so I swear, dear, when I wished using the monkey's paw, my wrist got twisted. Now Mr. White told a very surprising thing. After Herbert left for his work, Mr. White told a very surprising thing to his wife, Mrs. White. He said that, do you know, dear, that when yesterday at night, when I took the monkey's paw in my hand and I had wished for 200 pounds very loudly, my hand suddenly got twisted. Okay, my hand got twisted. Hand in the sense my wrist got twisted. And Mrs. White did not reply anything. She was looking outside. See, Mrs. White is already annoyed. Okay, and now she did not believe an inch about the monkey's paw, and she already said that, is it the story of Arabian Nights going on, where there will be a magic lamp, you will rub it and one genie will come and grant you wishes? Nothing is going to happen like that. This is the age of science and technology. So Mrs. White first of all was annoyed, so she did not reply anything, and she was looking outside the house, okay, outside the door, and suddenly she saw that somebody was approaching. Okay, somebody was coming to their house. And here you can see the picture that as she went near the door, because there are no more houses, we learn in part 1 only that they were living at such a location where maybe only 1 or 2 houses were there around, not much. Okay, they were living in a very isolated place. Okay, so as she went near the door, she saw a man standing near the gate. Okay, now when Mrs. White went near the door, she saw that an unknown person was standing near the gate. Now this unknown person says that, I have come, madam, I have come from Moe and Megan's. I'm sorry, there's a spelling mistake here. I have come from Moe and Megan's. Okay, Meggins. I have come from Moe and Megan's company to give a news about your son Herbert. Okay, so this person has come from that same company where Herbert works. So he says that, ma'am, I have come from Moe and Megan's company, and I have brought some news about your son, Herbert. And what is that news? Now, Mrs. White is very disturbed, and Mrs. White says that, is my son all right? Has anything happened to Herbert? Is he hurt? You know, as a mother, she is very disturbed right now, and she says that earlier nobody came from Herbert's company. Why suddenly this person has come from Moy and Megan's company? So is my son okay? Is he hurt? Has anything happened to him? And then finally, this man enters a house, and Mrs. Herbert White and Mr. Herbert, they are now sitting there, and this unknown man who has come from Moy and Megan's company gives an information that, madam, Herbert was caught in the machinery and he died. I have been sent from the company to pay a compensation amount. Okay, so this man says that, madam, because Herbert worked in a company for too long, okay, and he was quite sincere at his work, so I have been sent by my boss to pay you a compensation amount as a respect, as a token of respect. I have come to pay you a compensation amount for his death. And Mrs. White is now alarmed, and the first thing she asks is, how much is the amount? And this man says 200 pounds, and Mr. White gives a loud shout, no, and then Mr. White fainted as soon as he heard the amount. Okay, as soon as Mr. White heard the amount 200 pounds, Mr. White fainted. Okay, and do you know why he fainted? If you remember very clearly, this was the same amount that Mr. White had wished yesterday with the help of the monkey's paw. But yesterday nothing happened. The previous night nothing happened. Okay, and today this wish was granted. How? Through Herbert White's death. And this man from Moy and Megan's company has come to compensate Herbert's death with 200 pounds. So hearing this, Mr. White faints. Okay, and we will continue in part 3, which will be the final part of the story. We will continue it in our next video. Till then, subscribe the channel, keep watching, and very best wishes to all of you. And please subscribe the channel Omni Gyan so that you can get lots of knowledge. And please don't forget to press the bell icon so that whenever I upload videos, you keep on getting notifications. Okay, so thank you, students. Thank you all.